16 years ago, in the sweltering heat of a Houston summer, I stood on the porch of our modest ranch-style home, my heart pounding like a drum in a silent room. The screen door slammed shut behind me, the sound echoing like a final judgment. My father, a burly oil rig supervisor named Frank Rivera, had just hurled my duffel bag into the dirt driveway. "If you walk away from this family for some pie-in-the-sky college nonsense, don't you dare come crawling back," he growled, his face flushed with the kind of rage that had simmered for years. My mother, Elena, stood beside him, arms crossed, her eyes avoiding mine as if looking at me would crack her resolve. My older brother, Miguel, the golden boy with his community college degree and spot on the local baseball team, smirked from the sidelines. And my sister, Rosa, the family princess who'd just landed a safe job at the local bank, shook her head like I was some lost cause. They didn't see the acceptance letter from Stanford in my trembling hands, a full ride to study engineering, a ticket out of the cycle of barely scraping by. To them, I was Alex Rivera, the middle child who'd always been too ambitious, too restless, the one who dreamed too big for our tight-knit, working-class world. "You're needed here," Mom had said earlier, her voice laced with that guilt-tripping tone that cut deeper than any knife. "The family garage needs your help with the books. Miguel's got his games. Rosa's planning her wedding. Be practical. Mija." But I wasn't Mija anymore, not to them. I picked up my bag, dusted off the Texas dirt, and walked away, the weight of their rejection settling into my bones like a permanent ache. The Greyhound bus to Silicon Valley drained half my savings, $150 for a one-way ticket to a place I'd only read about in library books. I arrived in Palo Alto with $800 left, a backpack of clothes, and my abuelo's old pocket watch, the only heirloom that reminded me I came from somewhere. He died when I was 10, but his words stuck. Define your own path, Alex. Don't let the world box you in. Stanford had deferred my enrollment for a year when I explained the financial hardships, but the truth was harsher. I was broke, alone, and invisible again. Just like back home. I crashed in a dingy shared apartment in East Palo Alto, a converted garage that reeked of mildew, splitting $500 rent with 3 strangers who barely acknowledged me. Mornings started at a greasy diner, flipping burgers from 5 a.m. to noon for $8 an hour, smiling through the burns and the rude customers who treated me like I didn't exist. Afternoons were spent at a warehouse packing boxes for an online retailer. 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. $10 an hour. My back screaming in protest. Weekends? Tutoring rich kids in math for $15 cash under the table. Biting my tongue as they whined about homework while their parents sipped lattes in mansions. I lived on rice and beans, stretching $10 a day, scavenging free samples from grocery stores and crashing campus events for the pizza. My clothes? Thrift store finds washed in the sink to save on laundromat quarters. I walked miles in worn sneakers, rain or shine, because bus fare was a luxury. But at night, in that cramped space, I'd huddle with my beat-up laptop borrowed from a library program and dive into online courses. MIT OpenCourseWare, Khan Academy, anything free on mechanical engineering and robotics. I was drawn to building machines that could protect, systems that couldn't be broken. Maybe because my own life felt so fragile. Exhaustion became my shadow, whispering doubts in the quiet hours. But I pushed on, fueled by the sting of that slammed door. The turning point hit like a storm in February, when a brutal flu knocked me flat. No insurance, no sick days. The diner fired me after 2 missed shifts. Rent loomed. And for one feverish night, I clutched Abuelo's watch and considered calling home, imagining their smug "I told you so." But then, In a haze, I finished a small robotics design, a simple automation script for warehouse efficiency I'd been tinkering with. I submitted it to an online contest on a whim. And it won $2,500. Not riches, but enough to breathe. It was proof. My brain could save me when my family wouldn't. I whispered to the empty room. This pain is fuel. It'll end. But what I'm forging lasts. Months later, a faded flyer on a campus bulletin board caught my eye. Free robotics workshop at UC Berkeley, open to all. I showed up in my best thrift blazer, feeling like an intruder among the polished students. The speaker, Dr. Lina Vasquez, a no-nonsense engineer from NASA roots, blew me away with her talk on adaptive systems. During Q&A, I mustered the courage to share a flaw I'd spotted in a common drone protocol. She leaned in, eyes sharp. You figured this out solo? Show me your notes. My hands shook as I pulled up my sketches on my phone. Self-taught, I admitted. She didn't blink. Hackathon next month. Join my team, no credentials needed. Just grit. That 48-hour hackathon was pure fire, caffeine-fueled chaos in a Berkeley lab. My teammates, grad students with fancy degrees, tackled a drone security challenge head-on. But I remembered the warehouse hacks I'd seen. Humans were always the weak link. At hour 40, bleary-eyed, I cracked it, a social engineering exploit using public data to bypass controls. That's genius and scary, one teammate muttered. Dr. Vasquez called the sponsoring firm on the spot. We didn't win. But the email came days later. Alex Rivera. Your insight prevented a major vulnerability. Aerotech wants to talk employment. The interview was a gauntlet. I showed up in damp clothes after a pipe burst in my apartment, no time to dry them. The VP, Carla Gwynn, noticed, but pressed on. I aced most questions, bombed one, but owned it. I don't know yet. But here's how I'd hunt the answer. 2 days later. Rejection. Need formal education. But a postscript. Dr. Vasquez vouches for you. Try Nova Robotics. They value raw talent. 3 more rejections followed, each chipping at my resolve. But on a rainy April afternoon, exactly a year after leaving Houston, I landed junior engineer at Nova Robotics. $50,000 starting, freedom in digits. For years at Nova built me up, from junior to lead developer. Salary hitting $110,000. But I was crafting someone else's vision. Late nights, I'd sketch my own, an AI-driven robotics system for disaster response, predicting collapses before they happened. The spark ignited during a client demo. A construction firm lost millions to a site failure their outdated tech missed. I saw the gap. AI could anticipate human error in real time. Sentinel Dynamics was born in my tiny San Francisco studio, named for watchful guardians. With $60,000 saved and a clunky prototype, I quit and dove into fundraising hell. 30 pitches. 30 no's. 2 green, no co-founder cred, markets saturated. Rejection 31 from a smug VC, Harold Grant, who called me darling and suggested something less ambitious, nearly broke me. Nursing a beer in a dive bar. Laptop open to job ads. A stranger slid onto the stool beside me. Looks like surrender, he said. Ethan Hale, a deep tech investor in a rumpled suit. Whiskey loosened my tongue. I spilled the concept. He grilled me. Then, I'll fund $500,000 for 18%, build your MVP. Skeptical. I asked why. Because Blackstone's an ass who misses diamonds in the rough. The next year blurred, hired 2 ex-Nova coders on equity. Worked from a Oakland coast base on ramen budgets. Breakthrough, integrating predictive AI with sensor fusion. Our bots didn't just react, they prevented. First client, a small mining op. $40,000 contract. Then a hospital chain. Then FEMA inquiries. By year 2, $3 million ARR. Ethan connected VCs, Series A, $20 million at $100 million valuation. I kept 55% control, learned from startup horror stories. Team ballooned to 150, offices in the valley with views that mocked my old garage. At 28, Wired dubbed me Alex Rivera, the engineer saving lives with AI. No word from Houston. 3 years on. A $600 million DoD contract unicorned us at $3 billion. I bought the Malibu Cliffside Estate, $25 million of glass and steel overlooking the sea. Proof I wasn't the ghost they'd made me. But success echoed empty. I'd scroll family socials at night, Rosa's perfect kids. Miguel's failed ventures propped by dad. Family pics captioned, our complete crew, 18 years strong. They'd erased me. Dates fizzled, too guarded. Too driven. Therapist Dr. Mia Patel said. Walls protect. But they isolate. Who are you shielding from? Public records showed their downfall, dad's garage bankrupt. Liens. Mom's health bills unpaid. Rosa's messy divorce. Miguel's debts. I prepared dossiers. Waiting. When they appeared at my gate one crisp morning. Minivan idling. It was surreal. I buzzed them in. Met them at the door in sweats. Shock rippled, the mansion. The art. The awards. We sat in the Ocean View great room. Kids splashing outside with staff. We've seen your success, Rosa said. Proud. Really? I laughed coldly. Now? After erasing me, Dad admitted, bankruptcy loomed. They needed $4 million. I pulled evidence, posts, texts. Their cruelties digitized. You called me selfish for dreaming. Silence. Miguel snapped. We messed up happy? No. I offered trusts for the kids, innocence deserved better. For them? Nothing. You gave me zero, I returned the favor. They left broken. Dad whispering. We were wrong. Victory tasted bitter. Hours later. Ethan's call. They can't give what they lack. True remorse. A kid's email cracked me, and Alex. Your house is awesome. Sorry if we hurt you. I relented, not for them. For me. Lawyer redrafted. I'd buy the garage. Restructure. Consult gigs for parents. Jobs for siblings if earned. Conditions, therapy. Accountability statement. At the meeting. Dad read, we exiled Alex for her ambitions. Erased her, inexcusable. Her mercy. Not our right. Healing crept in, business revived. Family softened. Mom brought hidden photos one night. You scared me, you chased what I gave up. Scars lingered. Trust thin. But I set down the grudge. Forgiveness freed me. Not them. In my Malibu home. Now warmed by nieces' visits and tentative dinners. I was no longer invisible. Home wasn't blood, it was choice. Grace amid pain.